How perfect should my product be before I can start talking about it to potential clients or investors? This is something that a lot of startups struggle with, especially for startups who are either perfectionists and want everything to be absolutely perfect, or startups that come from a tech background where they want all the pieces of the puzzle to come together before they can share it to other people, or even startups that are led by people who are worried about sharing their intellectual property, sharing some aspect of what they are doing, so that they're worried about, the competition might steal my ideas or something like that. So they might hold back and not really talk about their business or what they are building. So for all of the startups and anybody else thinking about even starting a really early ideas, my first question to you is this: how quickly can you start testing your ideas in the market? Remember, the journey to product market fit is one of the most important journeys that a startup can do. The ideas that you have today when it comes to your startup, your vision will evolve and change. It will be guided by the market, guided by your investors, guided by the customers. Of course, you will still end up with what you wanted to build initially, but the final product will be different. The earliest you can start bringing customers, you can start talking about your product, the quickest you can start shaping that journey. I always remind startup or founders to think about building a product, even product managers especially, building a product as if it was a baby. You are growing a child. You might want to have a child who will one day turn into a tennis player. But that's definitely something that I would think about. So at the age of 3, I'm sure that if I had a child, I would probably give them their first racket so that they can play. But you also need to understand that the child will develop different interests, and maybe one day they will surprise you in another way. Of course, it's not as a drastic change when it comes to product, but it's the same ideas in terms of giving your product the best chances of growth by being able to bring other people to give you the feedback so that it can grow in the direction that you want, but also deviate where you need to on your way to the product market fit. So then if I don't have to have a perfect product, so how can I start speaking about my products, and how do I know where to stop? So here are a way, someone I work with my clients when I advise them on how to start. Let's go back to the main question. How quickly can you start testing your ideas? Is it possible to create a lovely PowerPoint slides or whatever tools that you use with drawings and a mock-up that you can start using really early on to even start talking to trusted clients, friends, or customers? So if you can do that, then start. Ask the community and start seeing how you can start tweaking your products, your business plan, and everything that you're doing in the background. The other way would be to create an early prototype based on high fidelity drawings, for example. There are tools like Figma where you can create a clickable prototype. So in terms of actually building charts on the screen, or you can design the charts in a way that you can go on a web page and you can start clicking on different areas that show you the customer journey and what the representation of what you are building will be. This way, you could approach clients, customers, so that they, while as explaining your ideas, they can also have something visual. And again, that's a lot cheaper in terms of development. And some of those tools and techniques do not even require a high level of coding involved. So if those ideas start, then remember that the people invest in you, they invest in your team, they invest on the scalability of what you're proposing. The quicker you can go to market and start talking to clients, the quicker you can change what you are doing, you can adapt, and you can provide a product that's stronger. And of course, depending on the area, you might decide that you need to build a prototype. You need to develop in terms of coding, whether you do it yourself, whether you do it with some of your, let's say, co-founders who have technical skills, or you use an offshore development team. Even then, if you do decide that road, do remember, what is the smallest amount of coding that I need to do to create the story? You don't need to code the full system. Some of them could still be a clickable prototype, whilst the other one has been developed to some extent as well. But remember, it's all about making sure that you have a clear roadmap from the beginning, understanding what your MVP will be, and understanding what the MVP of the MVP will be, and build a roadmap so that you are not overspending. Anything that you create or anything that you put out there needs to be useful to you and needs to have the purpose of driving more feedback and moving conversation forward with potential customers and investors. So I hope this really helps. And just before I forgot, there's actually one other hack that I also suggest to other people. Now, this one is if your startup is going towards not just a tech product or platform, but there might be a service that will go on top of that. For that, you might actually think of finding a way of mimicking what your product do using very basic techniques. And I've seen that used in other startups, and I even talked to a startup yesterday that is using that. I'm not going to go into that startup because it was kind of great ideas, and I don't want to I didn't ask for the authorization to share that. But one of the things I've seen it being done was in the recruitment industry. So we look at a niche area. So for example, if you wanted to attract people who have a hybrid working experience, and rather than building a full software or a full platform, web platform that will allow you to find companies looking for hybrid working leaders and find the hybrid working contractors per se, you might just do a very simple example where you've got Google Forms where you get the information from the tool. You have a team in the background that do the matching and the interviews and connecting. And eventually you're doing kind of this, you become this halfway middle guy and helping people connect. Of course, the full product can grow and will develop in the future, but it's a very, very quick way of knowing if you have what you need to be able to enter the market. I've seen this done as well in the rental industry. We talked a little bit about rental startup last week, and where, for example, if you have a co-living, again, it's a new way for digital nomads to find places to live when they go abroad, and you have digital nomads looking for quality co-livings. You can use the similar things, test it, and if you have the viability in terms of market and people are really excited about it, you can slowly build a platform behind that. But at least you have something where you can start gathering data, start gathering customers, and you can move forward. So those are just a few ideas just to show, and I hope he helps you to feel a bit more comfortable and start thinking differently about how perfect your software needs to be before going to clients. And remember, your product will evolve on your search to product market fit, so don't be too attached to what you have in the beginning. And main question for me is, how quickly can you start testing your ideas in the market? What do you think about what we've shared so far? Do please interact with us, and even if you're watching the replay, make sure that you comment and even online using #AthenaLeaders, and we'll be happy to continue the conversation with you.